background in environmental science, and I was always the kid in the lab who was like looking through the microscope and being like, do you guys see this? The building blocks of life? I was astounded by it. And I never kind of got away from that feeling. And then I started doing photography of like cell cultures and fungi when I was in college. That was kind of like the bridge between science and art for me. And then also my dad is a math teacher, so I definitely got a heavy dose of mathematics growing up.
For me, just growing up, I think I was the only one in my high school who took advanced placement math and advanced placement studio art at the same time. So I really was fascinated by both the physics and the science, as well as the creative aspect. And when it came down to really starting producing art, where we wanted to pick a structures and a system and sort of like a vessel for our art, and geometric forms and geometric patterns was just like the natural way for us to explore.
I really think that the scale of the work that we do is super duper important. And so then when you blow it up to like human size, that gives a different sense of your relationship to the geometry, I think. For me, like there's no way that I could have been doing two-dimensional forms. Something about sculpture is always the thing that I was attracted to.
Our shapes, for the most part, are based on regular polyhedras. So they're shapes that are like discovered thousands of years ago. So they have a set construct. And then, of course, the panels and the patterns we apply to them reference the shapes and work with the shapes. So it's this kind of back and forth between the two-dimensional surface and how it tessellates across these like very unique three-dimensional shapes. And we feel that we're like stewards of geometry. And we're sort of showcasing these shapes that have existed for such a long time and sort of like putting them on this pedestal of like, look at how beautiful this geometry is. Look at how this geometry exists in the natural world. And let's showcase it. And let's be like the spokesperson for these forms and these patterns. So much of our pattern work is two-dimensional surfaces that are applied to three-dimensional shapes. We've discovered that developing patterns on just a sheet of paper is one thing. Developing a pattern that can wrap around three-dimensional object opens up all these new discoveries and like curiosity, especially where like the corners meet and it creates these other tessellations, and you just make all these like very unique discoveries that I don't think you would ever even have the ability to do if you're just sketching on a sheet of paper.
Something that we've really enjoyed is seeing kind of the similarities between different pattern making traditions across the world. Each culture definitely has its own unique system designed by, mostly women who are doing pattern making and design and like textiles and things like that. And I'm from the Ukraine, and we did a piece that was based on Ukrainian cross-stitching. And so that necessitated like a lot of 90-degree angles, 45-degree angles. And I was just really proud to do something like for my own heritage.
I think like nature is one of the best pattern makers. The patterns in flowers, the Fibonacci sequences that occur all throughout nature. The first pattern we did was inspired by particle physics and how these different charges were mapped, and then they had this like 3D model of all these charges, and then certain projections made perfect hexagons. And it was so stunning. We couldn't believe that the universe is created from this like structural grid that's so beautiful. And so that was actually the first inspiration, particle physics, of the first sculpture we did. And then from there, we started going into other forms of physics and geometry, Islamic geometry. And we have so much respect for it because it's such an ancient science and an ancient creativity, and it's so scientifically advanced. The patterns that were being made 500 years ago have ties to current discoveries in chemistry and physics now.
Yeah, so in that sense, a lot of our work is very process-based, where it starts from either the three-dimensional shape or starts from a two-dimensional pattern that we develop or draw influences from like the natural environment, or a long history of pattern making and design in various cultures. And then the marriage of the two is really kind of where we think the magic happens, because there has to be like a mathematical equivalency between the three-dimensional shape and the two-dimensional pattern. And that creates, I think, a sort of resonance between the geometries that is unique to our work. More than anything, I think that we want to inspire a sense of malleability to the environment, that it's possible to create and to explore our natural built environment. What we always say is that we work on desks that are made of 90-degree angles in rooms that are 90-degree angles, and there's a lot of degrees other than 90 that are totally awesome to explore.
And I'd like people to see our artwork and sort of realize how beautiful and elegant geometry can be. Something that is, universal across the globe, through physics, through math, not, through other planets. If they all have geometric structures on them, that this geometry is really a beautiful thing. And one thing that our artwork we always like to do is that, because we combine math and artwork, that we allow our artwork to get people excited about math and inspire studies in math. So for people who are artistic, who don't have an aptitude for math, this is how they can sort of play and explore that. Likewise, for people who are really have a high aptitude for math but aren't very creative, for them it can say, wow, my math can be a medium for art. In math, I can use math as my creativity to do something creative. So math can be creative and creativity can be mathematic. And that back and forth, we really find can inspire people in different ways once they experience our artwork.